Hello, friends. I thought I would do a quick tutorial on how I edit videos. I'm far from sophisticated. I don't know how to do much, but I can do some really basic editing on videos. So, cutting off clips, moving sections around, applying some simple transitions. So, I thought I could maybe spend 5 minutes, 'cause really all I know is about 5 minutes worth of material. The only software that I've ever used and that I know how to use for video editing is an open source software called OpenShot. You get it from openshot.org. It's open source, which means a lot of things, but one of the things that it means is that you can get it for free. It's available for Windows and Linux and Macintosh. So you go here, you download it, you install it. This is what it looks like once it's installed. You have three main areas. Here's where your files will show up as you start importing them. This is the preview window. And here is where you organize your video clips and you manipulate and cut and edit. So let's say you spoke to a friend who lives in Mexico City. You go to File, Import Files. You navigate to where you keep your files. This is the video that was recorded using OBS. You open that and it shows up in this box. Now you can grab that video and place it on a track. I recommend not using the topmost track, track 5. Put it on track 4 or 3. And the only reason is if you want to add overlays or other effects that you want to be visible, they would need to show up on the topmost track. So it's as if though you're from the top looking down. So if you put your, let's say a banner, or you want to put some other image and you place it on the track below because you put your video at the very top, it won't come through unless there's some transparency or some cut in your video. So probably a good default, just assume that you're going to put something on top of your video. So here it is. You can hit play.
So I hear you, but I don't
You can grab this cursor and move around. So this is how you advance and move around the clip. Now, let's say that while you're in the middle of talking to your friend who lives in Mexico City, your 2-year-old walks in because he knows that he wants to get to the markers that are located at the desk where you're sitting, right? So there's a sofa somewhere that he needs to mark up. So yeah, disappear around here. Where did it go? Right around the 14-minute. Okay.
You on climate, and just a few years ago, I really took it.
Sorry, pardon me.
Okay, so this is where I get up and I had to leave. So let's try to edit this so people don't notice or they're none the wiser, or at least so we can clean this up a little bit. So you move this around to where you want to actually cut the video, right, using this cursor. When you're happy with its location, you hit Control M. That leaves a marker. You can see a little blue arrow. And it's convenient. You can get back to this marker by pressing Control left or right on your keyboard. That gets you to that spot immediately. And you don't have to memorize this. This is all under Edit, Preferences, Keyboard, and it shows you all the shortcuts, the keyboard shortcuts that I'm using. So at that point, I get up to open the door for my 2-year-old.
Really took it.
I disappear. At some point, I come back. I'm sorry, man.
Sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, so we put another marker here when Federico starts talking after I apologize. So at this point, my son's in the room. And let's say you thought he was going to be happy sitting next to you, but no. He came in to grab those markers, but he wanted to use them outside in the living room. So he starts making a ruckus because he can't open the door, and you have to get up again to open the door for him. So it's another section of video. Let's say this is where I want to cut it. Control M, so that leaves a marker. Right, so this here. I come back.
So do you have a group of people that?
All right, so let me see. Let's put it there. Okay, so I've got my markers. And control left and right cursor comes to those markers. So now the other shortcut that's useful is control K. That cuts. So I don't know if that's obvious, but where there was one continuous clip, now it's been divided in two, and I cut it right where that marker was placed. So control K, cut, control K, control K. Now what I can do is I can take this little section of me futzing around and playing with my 2-year-old in the middle of an interview, and right click and remove clip. That removed them both. I had them both selected. You can, and if you screw up and you make a mistake, control Z undoes for universal keyword shortcut. You select the one clip, remove clip, and it goes away. Select, remove clip, and it goes. So these snap together. So now it's back to one continuous video, right? You
to go and climb it. And just a few years ago, I really was climbing everything I saw.
All right, so there's cleaner way of doing this, but at least this is a little bit better. Now, the other thing that's actually useful too is when you first start to video and you're getting set up and the lighting's good, can you hear me? Maybe you want to cut that out. And maybe you want the video to start right at the point where you're greeting your audience and welcoming your thousands of subscribers to your production. So just like before, you navigate to where that point where you say hello is.
Hello, friends.
All right, so that's where I started. So maybe I want to start about here. Control M places a marker, right? And the marker is useful instead of you don't have to use a marker, right? You can just place the cursor wherever you want it and cut wherever. But what's nice about this is that you can test and make sure that that's actually
hello, friend,
where you want it to begin. You can also nudge the cursor with your keyboard, right? So you can move it. You can see a timeline here, right? So that's in tenths of a second. They look hundredths of a second. Anyway, so assuming that that's where you want it, just like before, Control K, that cuts it, right? So this is a separate video. We remove clip. All right, so gotta make sure there's no gaps there. Oops, it there. I added a transition. Okay, there we go. The other thing that's useful are transitions. So you go transitions in this tab. You have different options. I haven't played around with it. I don't know how most of these work, but at least I know how to fade in and out, right? So you drag that down.
hello, friends.
So that causes it to fade in. You can change the length of that, so you can make it really gradual and take forever. It defaults, I believe, to I think it's 10 seconds, so it fades in over 10 seconds. So there's some default, and maybe you want it to fade out at the very end, so you scroll to the end of the video clip, you add it here. Now, it assumes that you want it to always fade in, right? So it starts off at black and it fades in, which makes sense in the beginning, but not at the end. So what you can do here is you right click, reverse transition, so now it fades black instead of fade in from black. So that seems like a proper way of ending a video. Now the other thing you can do, and the last thing that I know how to do, I've played with, you can also import images. Go to import files. We got some some autonomy branding, right? So let's say we have this autonomy man, Mr. Autonomy. That's an image. It's a still image, which you can add. It adds it as a 10-second clip. That's the default. So the way that looks like, since it's on top of our clip with a video, is it ends up showing up on top, right? Next one.
Hello, friends. I'm Luis Palacios. I'm here with Federico.
Now, maybe you don't want that symbol. And by the way, you can stretch it, right? When the cursor gets to the point where that top clip ends, it just disappears because it's no longer present in the timeline. So that's how you play with how long that lasts. But maybe it'd be cool to have this fade out, right? So let's go to transition. That's too long. Let's make it like this. Fade here. Make that fades out. what that looks like. So when the video starts, you see Mr. Autonomy here. Mr.
Hello,
Autonomous.
friends. I'm Luis Palacios. I'm here with Federico. And we're going to get to know our...
All right. So, hey, maybe that's kind of cool. Maybe I'll start doing something like that. So the autonomy, Mr. Autonomy fades out while the video fades in, and hey, maybe this is done. So now when you're happy with what you've got and with your video, you go to export video and you get a bunch of options. I don't really know what most of these do, but what has been working for me is a profile of web, YouTube, and I'm on a really old computer. This is a 6-year-old laptop. So I found that it runs a heck of a lot faster if I turn down the resolution and the frame rates, 25 frames per second. For whatever reason, my machine doesn't struggle with as much as 29.9 frames per second. I wouldn't think it would make that much of a difference, but it does. So you're happy, you name it. Let's call this test. Only a test, so I don't confuse myself. It tells you where you're gonna save it, right? That's my default, that's my home folder. And you hit export video and it starts working. Oh, except I have the wrong. Oh, let me try that again. Sorry, export video. Ooh, that almost didn't work. And let me just leave this here. Flickr HD YouTube. I'm having an issue with. I was playing around with one of my codecs. YouTube HD is a fine option that should work for you. I screwed up something on my machine right now for whatever reason. This is the profile that works. It has to do with one of my audio settings, so that's what I get for futzing around with it. But the way it should work is you pick YouTube or whatever profile makes sense. By the way, Flickr also seems to work. I've uploaded videos to YouTube, not a problem. You hit export. Untitled project, I want to replace it. Let's call this test. Only test. Export video. Oops. And it goes to work. On my machine, like I said, it's a, it's a 6-year-old laptop, so it really get this load monitor. That's the CPU, right? So it's working hard. The machine is kind of cranking away. And that's it. You end up with a video that you can upload to YouTube and share. So I'm just going to cancel this. I don't actually need to go through this. So hope that helps. Talk to you guys later.